Known for both its rolling hills and its sprawling cities, Yorkshire is becoming famous for something else. Since the Tour de France began here in 2014, cycling culture has been flourishing. With the annual legacy event, the Tour de Yorkshire, taking place every year, thousands of spectators line the streets and professionals from around the world gather to the county. However, this year, Yorkshire will be holding its biggest event yet, holding the most diverse World Championships ever seen. With the introduction of a controversial mixed-gendered team time trial and the inclusion of paracycling events, cycling is working hard to improve its inclusivity. With huge advances in technology also sure to ramp up the competition, it's on roads such as these that the world's best will be fighting for the rainbow stripes. Potentially the biggest change to the programme will be the new time trial event. Although many are excited to see the inclusion of a mixed team time trial, why are some so against the idea? The event sees 3 women and 3 men competing as one team, working together to complete the course in the shortest amount of time. While some see this as a good step forwards, some simply see it as a gimmick. With the Tour de Yorkshire only a few months before the World Championships, the pressure is on for Yorkshire to prove that it can handle the big stage. With the changes to the upcoming World Champs proving to be controversial, it's a good chance for organisers to justify their decisions. As an excited crowd start to gather at the launch of the Tour de Yorkshire route back in December, it's clear to see their enthusiasm for cycling.
This is a great location to be in. Let's get the show on the road.
With the presence of cameras and broadcasters from across the country, it's not long before the man who brought the Tour de France to Yorkshire and the recent changes to the World Championships takes to the stage.
Where the World Championships finish line will be next September. We leave the circuit.
Next year at the World Champs is going to be the first year with the mixed team time trial. What do you think about including that for the first time?
Well, I was very keen to do that, and also I was very keen to have the paracycling event. For me, I wasn't interested in hosting a World Championships that didn't feature paracycling and that didn't try and do something for the gender inequalities that we need to do. So I was really pleased that the opening weekend of the Championships will be the most diverse, the most inclusive in the history of the Championships. Yorkshire making history again. We have to be pioneers.
To have so many people happy on their bikes. Tour de Yorkshire is useful.
Like Gary Verity, Christian Prudhomme also believes that an event that allows men and women to compete together is a good idea for the sport.
It's a wonderful idea. It's just, when I learned that, it's just evident, but nobody thought about that. It's wonderful, it's perfect. It will be the first time ever, and it will be in Yorkshire. So
there we can see the long line now as they string out on the climb of Trundle Hill.
The last time the UK held the Cycling World Championships was back in 1982, which proved to be a very special year for one 20-year-old from Rochdale.
This is going to be a girl in this race. She's led at the beginning, she's led in the middle, she's taken them all on alone, and she is the champion of the world. Mandy Jones comes home, the first gold medal since 1967, when Belle Burton won it in Ireland.
Now running her own bike shop in Oldham, Mandy has kept plenty of mementos from the day that changed her life. Riding competitively when women were not treated with the same respect as their male counterparts, Mandy is quick to admit that women's cycling has come a long way since the 1980s.
I think it's an 100% improvement, without a doubt. Having seen just the acknowledgement they get, but also the support and the fact that they get so many more races. You know, they can ride in professional teams now, they can go and ride abroad much easier. You know, I never rode abroad unless we actually went with the British Cycling Federation. Well, this is my World's jersey that I won in 1982. And as you can see from the colours,
the first British world champion since Beryl Burton, no other Brit would go on to win the competition for another 26 years. Mandy is excited about the idea of a mixed-gender team time trial and what it could bring to the sport.
It certainly raises the profile, yeah. And I think the more we do things like this, I think it becomes more acceptable, which is what we're looking for, isn't it? And that men actually appreciate just how fast women can race. I was quite surprised when they said, and then I thought, well, why not, you know? And I suppose like anything, unless you try it, you don't know, do you? And there's no reason why. I mean, I would ride, you know, if you rode a club team time trial, for instance, I've done it with mixed, you know, a mixed event, because you very rarely get enough women racing at a certain level in a club, if you like, in one club, to be able to put a team together. So we'd always do it as a mixed. So I don't see why it shouldn't work at the Worlds. So yeah, it's nice to see it's moved on, even if not completely.
While organisers and previous winners may seem supportive of the idea of a mixed gender event, as news of the mixed team time trial spread online, many were quick to take to social media to express their disapproval of the event. While cycling is busy taking huge steps forwards to reduce its gender inequality, it's also easy to spot how far the fashion and the technology has come since Mandy was world champion. Now, back in the 80s, professional riders would have been using bikes similar to this. This bike is made from steel, which means it's very heavy, it's very hard to go uphill, and it's very hard to go fast. Also, the shifters are down on the down tube instead of them being up on the handlebars where they're easy to reach. In comparison, bikes that the riders are going to be using at the World Championships this year are not too different from this. This bike is made from carbon fibre, which means it's very fast, very quick to respond to power, and very fast uphill. Also, the shifting is back on the handlebars where you'd expect them to be, and the shifting is electric, which means that you have to charge it, but it's very smooth, very quick for the riders to change. They would have had none of this back in 1982. And in just a few months' time, riders will be using professional bikes just like this here in Yorkshire. While steps are being taken to improve gender equality, the 2019 World Championships will also see the inclusion of a paracycling event for the first time ever. The event will see riders from every Paralympic road racing classification competing in Harrogate, to crowds of thousands of spectators. One para-athlete who is looking forward to racing is Paralympic gold medalist and world champion Steve Bate. Officially registered blind, Steve competes on a tandem with an able-sighted pilot. Yorkshire 2019 are holding paracycling events alongside able-bodied cycling for the first time. What do you think about this?
Oh, it's massive. You know, this is such a huge leap forwards in terms of just, you know, the exposure for paracycling. To see the streets lined and to race in that, you know, we just don't have that opportunity. So, you know, that's, you know, you're definitely going to raise your game for that, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we've only got a road race, which is, for us, disappointing. That's probably our weakest event. You know, again, speaking personally, I would have loved to have a time trial on that. Because, yeah, we're much better at time trial than we are at road racing. With the case that it came in.
While Steve is a proud owner of a mountain of medals and even an MBE, he is frustrated that Paralympic sport often still doesn't get the recognition that it deserves and often struggles to be televised.
It's massively frustrating because people want to know. You know, British Cycling put out a little video and stuff about our track worlds, and it gets amazing feedback. So people clearly are interested and want to know, but there's just not the support for that so far. And I think it's similar for women's racing as well. It's on the up and it's getting, you know, growing and growing, getting stronger, but there's just not the coverage for it yet.
While the fight for equality is not yet complete, funding for paracycling has drastically increased. In Athens, funding from UK Sport was just over £500,000. By London, this had risen to over £4 million. And for Tokyo 2020, this is expected to double to over £8 million of funding. Like paracycling, women's cycling also still has a long way to go. Research shows that only 1 in 5 cyclists in the UK are women. However, in 2018, both the Tour of Britain and the Tour Down Under offered equal prize money for the first time ever. The Tour de Yorkshire is also working hard by increasing its prize money and the amount of TV coverage offered to the women. With thousands in Yorkshire taking to their bikes every weekend for both leisure and competition, it's hard to imagine somewhere better suited for the UK to host the biggest cycling event on the planet. While some of the new changes may be seen as controversial, there's no doubt that Yorkshire 2019 will leave a lasting impact on the world of cycling. With young riders and potential future world champions watching on, it's time for Yorkshire to prove that it is right to implement these changes and that it really is the home of cycling.